Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Valor Honoris and Leo Zangalente podcast. This is episode 3. And today we are joined by a person who is perceived as either a hero or a villain, depending on where you stand. Very controversial figure, very heroic to some. Yes, we are introduced with Tarask. Hello, Tarask. How are you today, man?
Hello. I like the Lego game.
That's fair.
That is very true. So true. So do we. And that's why we host this podcast. So, Tarask, how's your day going, man? First of all.
It's going pretty damn well. Especially because of that recent siege. Wink, wink. Nudge, nudge.
Mm-hmm.
I can imagine. For context, today, guys, the SBA have beaten the HRE and multiple of the people under the Protectorate. I think, how many factions? 4 or 5?
I think 6 total.
7, actually.
Wow. Yeah, I think the Antioch were the most recent to get added in there. So we had the Hospitalers, I think the Teutonics, Templars only, and then slightly later on the KOJ. So yeah, that was a very impressive save from the Federation, that battle. Surely, I can see why you're happy. Oh shit.
Oh god, that's that Teuton, bro.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay.
So Tarask, with that in mind, there's a big war going on right now. Obviously, it's very violent, especially in the southern Levant. And as some people would define you as the head of the Federation, maybe not officially, but you know, that is kind of an important role that you fill. How is it, in your perspective, going? And what's your opinions?
I think, well, it's going like most wars go on this scale. It's a back and forth. Like the very first coalition war was back and forth. The FCA war was back and forth, and the Capetian war was back and forth. But I mean, we're not making much ground diplomacy-wise, but we're making ground militarily-wise, and we're enjoying it, which is, you know, the entire point of the game.
Yeah, that's good. Cool. Yeah, no, with that's great that you're enjoying it. Obviously, I think lots of battles, at least from the anti-Fed perspective, have had lots of performance issues. Would you report that the SBA think that the game is probably still not optimized to what it should be for large battles? You think it can accommodate these large mega states?
Yeah, we've been having instances of what we like to call the attack of the naked gray men. We just spawn in and our avatar is completely gray, weaponless, and we're all NPCs. Which, I admit, is pretty funny when you're not fighting it, but it can be infuriating. Also, it's people just spawning naked in general without weapons in normal sieges.
Definitely. I would agree. I think, with the current system, you know, it's kind of tricky because the game in RBs at those time lock times probably have, let's say, like an average of 50, at least minimum, maybe sometimes 30, and sometimes, you know, going up to 80 where it becomes really unplayable. But nonetheless, you know, most stuff still functions when it has to. Sometimes the server crashes, but that's just how it is. Hopefully the devs do something about that. What do you think is your opinion on how the devs have handled the optimization in road battles and all of that and the like, and sieges?
Well, it's definitely gotten better than what it used to be, because I remember when Northern Levant used to crash every like 2 seconds. Like, you literally couldn't even load in before it crashed again. And now you can actually sometimes have fights in it. But as always, Central Levant is the best Levant because it's always stable. I mean, you guys can't prove otherwise.
Yeah, dude, I think especially like Central Levant and Sicily, those are like the 2 best ones for optimization. And Sicily for beauty. Cool. Well, Valor, you haven't spoken much yet, so I'll just let you get some questions in.
No, you're good. I was just listening. So I guess my first question would be, I think I want to move to the past of the Federation because not everyone was here around when you guys were around. So first question would be, Tarask, how long have you been in the Teutonic Order? When did you become leader? And answer the same question in respect to the Federation?
I first joined the Teutonic Order back in 2019. By technicality, I only played for like 4 months though at the time. I took a very long break and joined back in 2021. The Federation got formed after a war between Templars and HRE when Saturn was Hochmeister, and that was, God, what was that, 2021, 2022?
Yeah, 2021, I think.
Yeah. He was the Chancellor, the High Chancellor of the Federation for a good couple of months before he retired. I've never been High Chancellor because being leader and Chancellor would be such a goddamn headache. I can curse, right?
Yeah. Just not too
yeah.
much. Just not too much. Try to keep it low.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, being Chancellor would be a headache and leader. I first became leader back in December, so over a year ago, slightly. And I don't know when people started seeing me as the figurehead of the Federation. I guess that was just because Teutons were very active at the time. And because Iggy was inactive and he was supposed to be the High Chancellor of the Federation. Which, you know, didn't turn out well.
Yeah.
Wait, no, that's Iggy for you.
Okay, so as far as the Federation, a lot of people view you as not. I think everyone knows that you're not the leader of the Federation, but I think people still sort of view you as like a figurehead for it, like someone who has a lot of influence and can push the Federation in a direction that is desirable for, I guess, yourself. Would you agree with that take, or do you think that that is completely wrong and you don't really push it in any direction?
I do sometimes push it in certain directions, and that can either help certain things or do some oopsie whoopsies. But out to the anti-feds, it might seem like a big difference. But when we're like in the Federation Council talking, it's just a bunch of, you know, HRs and leaders. We're all equals.
Yeah. Okay. So as far to move on from your role specifically in the Federation, as far as the Teutonic Order, there's a lot of people in the Teutonic Order. If it's not the strongest faction, it's at least top 3. How would you say the Teutonic Order found its success with its member count, and what do you think kind of played into that? Like what aspects of the Teutonic Order make it attractive? Maybe that's one, or maybe it's just you guys recruit a lot. Like, what's the secret there?
The secret is that we have very loyal members. Teutons started getting most popular back when Panda was about to retire, and Saturn soon became Hochmeister, like right around Tankfish era when everybody was joining the genre, and it was free. So we had a lot of members, and it sort of stayed that way thanks to Saturn and, you know, the whole Federation thing. I inherited a good faction. I got lucky, and I've mostly maintained that, and maybe caused a few world wars to keep everybody happy.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm gonna mention something here. You said you guys started getting success when it was free, and obviously that's quite a controversial thing going on with the marketing of the game, since we've seen that the price has increased, now progressively decreasing. But how do you think the game being charged has affected the performance of the Teutonic Knights?
Well, there definitely aren't any LR hordes in the game anymore because people aren't buying the game en masse. But
yeah,
we have been getting the occasional recruit here and there. I'm not sure how the smaller factions like Antioch or France have been doing with recruitment, but it's definitely not helped us, but it's not helped anyone else either. I am proud that
Yeah,
we've, maintained our strength, though, for the most part.
That is great. Yeah, no, I think that's especially with the great performance that we've seen SBA have as of recently, past 3-4 days. I think the loyalty has played a massive aspect. We've seen lots of recurring players coming back, so that's been pretty insane to see. I'd say it's probably the same even with smaller factions. I've just had veterans, probably on a smaller scale, like 4 to 5, come back, and they've just been re-immersing themselves in the culture because they could afford the game. But sadly, at least for France, I can say that there's lots of veterans who have returned to the Discord, but they haven't been able to afford the game, so sadly they're not able to rejoin.
Yeah. Let's have
What about for Antioch?
Antioch has gotten a lot of new recruits lately. A lot of it has stemmed from people joining that have influence, and we've kind of given them a home in like a division or something, and they've kind of gotten through that way. Except for, I would say, Latakia. Latakia has had a lot of success through recruitment, which is good for them. So Antioch lately has kind of been doing really well. So I'm pretty, at least personally, satisfied with what's been going on.
That's good. Yeah, nice. So yeah, we can see from at least all 3 of our examples, lots of the stuff as either community faction leaders and high ranks. It's really internal, there's like a recycling of players going on, which is quite concerning. But hopefully the game can find its sweet spot in terms of price. But yeah, no, we'll see. Actually, while we're speaking about the game development aspect and just game marketing, I wanted to stray a tiny bit and speak about something which is not really to do with the war, but I think I've seen some rumors that Malbork, the base that we're currently in, may be getting some reworks. And are you excited for that? What do you think is going to happen with some of the new bases coming out, since I've heard there was a leak somewhere?
Yeah, I'm definitely optimistic that Malbork will one day get a rework, but I've also heard Constantinople is getting a rework, and that we're getting a new base, Belvoir, and that maybe Mosul will get a rework. There's been a lot of rumors, and I don't think anything will happen this year, except maybe Belvoir. That might happen, but map changes take a very long time.
Yep, no, for sure, especially with how small the building team currently is. But it would be exciting to see this keep right where I'm facing, get an upgrade, since Malbork is known as the largest castle by land area.
Yeah.
So that could be exciting to see. Yeah, no, Mr. Antioch, man, Valor, feel free to go ahead.
So I guess I'll throw it back to the Federation, because I feel like that's kind of what we've all culminated to in our careers, in the sense that me and Leo culminated to the anti-feds, or which came from the Capetians, and then Tarask is kind of seen as like one of the most influential members in the Federation. First things first, what do you think about the whole Furious situation with him being coot or whatever? Because a lot of people kind of question, why didn't you guys intervene in Furious being coot? Because we've seen this before from the Teutonic Order, where they've intervened in coups or rebellions or whatever it is. What changed this time, especially considering that they're in the Federation?
Yeah, the thing that changed this time, there's, two things. It's hard to intervene in a coup without directly puppeting somebody or a rebellion starting. Yeah. So you would have to directly oh, hey, go rebel against this guy because I don't like him. And, nobody likes doing that. But the main reason is that, and I'm going to spill some beans here that I already told Ollie a while ago, but Furious at first did not get cooed. He got banned, and everybody thought, oh, Super is himself. They're the same guy. Yeah. Everybody thought that Super cooed him because of the ban and took advantage. No, Furious made a deal with KOE and trusted Super to take over leadership for 2 weeks during his ban. And everybody was, okay, we trust Super enough to hand it back. And Fierce didn't want to tell the entire genre and play it as a joke to see their reaction. On the day before he got unbanned, somebody in the KOE HR channel started a vote. Should we keep Super as king? the resulting vote was 5-4, with Super being the deciding vote. And I don't know if Furious got to vote on that, but they officially cooed him the day before he got unbanned. And I woke up one day, the day after when Furious got unbanned, with my 2IC Jimmy. He's the guy who runs the Federation server. Amazing.
Yeah.
Asking why Valor was asking him to remove Furious as a state leader. And I asked Valor, what's going on? And I was shown pictures of the vote, and I lost my poop. I can't curse. So it was a very big deal at the time, and we were already at a war because I think Super had declared war on Abyssith at the time, or were vassalized.
Yeah.
So we were already knee deep in the mud, and we couldn't get out.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that's a good response to it. Okay, so as far as a change in leadership, what do you think about Valor stepping down and Balon taking the mantle? Do you think that will be a good thing, bad thing for KOJ? Do you think it's a mistake, etc., etc.?
I think it's a very good thing for Valor personally, because he has had a rough time of it.
Yeah.
And people have been very vocally opposed to him, and he's, everybody gets.
I was speaking to the man yesterday, and he was saying how stressful it's been for the last couple of months. Obviously, that's quite a toll which can be taken on leaders. So it's a shame to see. But I think he's had the longest reign in KOJ in a long time. He's definitely built them back up from what they were previously. With the other old leaders, Polyphonic and all of that. So that's definitely true. It's sad to see him go, but we wish him the best. He's finally free.
Yeah.
Well, as free as you are, because I think he's going to stay in KOJ a little bit.
Yeah, no, definitely. There is like a way more peaceful vibe to it, because you know that you can just not come online if you have like something important or other priorities, Yeah. It's more of a come in, stabby, and pretty freeing. So yeah, he is coming to Burgundy, I believe. So that's going to be nice to see him return to France. But yeah, in that respect, how do you think Balon will take KOJ to another level? How do you think it's going to go in the future of the Kingdom of Jerusalem?
Well, ever since Balon became 2IC and the heir, they've been sharing leadership, so I think it'll be mostly seamless. Other than some occasional division lane fights, which, happen all the time.
Yeah, of course.
Also,
I do think Balon does have a great passion. Sorry for me interrupting you. I do think Balon has a great passion, and lots of people already follow him. Maybe that's why they were slightly critical of Balor. And yeah, no, I think he'll still maintain a good control, just to support what you were saying. But yeah, please go on.
I'm also looking forward to the 30 immediate attempted coups by people outside the faction, like Dead Trees against Balon, because that seems to be a very common thing.
Dead Trees just wants to coup everyone, though. That's not even. I mean, like it's especially KOJ for sure, but he just coups everyone. He even tried to coup me. Like the second I believe he said he wanted to coup me because he didn't like our new uniforms.
Damn, bro. I didn't even know Dead Trees was crazy like that. That's insane. I thought it was just a random clowny.
Yeah, I don't know. He said
he used to be a KOJ HR in Division, but he went through some stuff.
For real? Damn. I didn't even realize.
He got exiled from KOJ, and he's had a major grudge ever since then.
Wait, when was this, dude?
Oh, like right around the time that I became leader. Before it even, there was constant stuff with Dead Trees.
Yeah. Damn, bro, that's crazy.
Well, to quickly pivot, I'm gonna sort of ask a very vague question on purpose. So in the opposite end of the feds, right? You have the anti-feds, and then you have organizations or factions under it. So what do you think of the anti-feds as a collective? And give us your complete, honest opinion. You don't have to sugarcoat anything just because we're here.
I think the anti-feds are. It's not one organized collective, obviously. It's a range. There's factions like Byzantines and sort of France that are mostly neutral. The Sicilian's about to stab me. Byzantines and France who are mostly neutral, and you can easily negotiate with, and treat as a fellow player that you actually like. Also assassins. And there's factions like Seljuks and Ayyubids and Abbasids who just really, really get on your nerves. I have personally been betrayed by all three of those factions several times.
Yeah.
It really, it's really annoying. It doesn't even, it really doesn't help that they're constantly switching leaders either.
Okay, let me let me throw this out there too, because I know I know that Leo has something to say about this. So give me an example of the betrayal and allow Leo to respond to the act of betrayal that you were mentioning.
Let's see. The first one was right when Parabellum started off. We're getting friendly with Ayyubids again. We even helped them in a war against Cyprus. We helped them vassalize them, which is one of the first wars they've won in a while at that point. And Sniper was the Sultan, and yada yada yada. Eventually, when IDK came into the Sultanship, they were still pretending to be our friend. And then they started forming.
I think I remember this.
Yeah,
we were still France was still Federation at the time as well.
Yeah, we also helped Dr. Osman in a war against assassins and prevented his puppeting, which was a brief concept at the time for assassins. So we were friendly with both Seljuks and Ayyubids. And then, out of the blue, the whole dealio with Hosps and KOJ happened, and then Ayyubids decided to declare war on Teutons. And it was not a happy moment for me. I even made a declaration about it, calling myself Tarask the Livid. It's true, I was livid, because they were literally our allies up to that point. We had been working with them, and they just declared on us. It didn't help that Ver, the Seljuk Sultan at the time, also lied to me several times. So, that's the first two, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, so respond to that.
Yeah, no. I remember like the Ayyuvid one, first of all, adamantly. That was a crazy time because that's also the time when I think vassalization started coming out, if I'm right. Yeah. So they did the thing with Nymph and shit, and this was quite awkward because we had, I think, distanced ourselves a tiny bit from the Federation after the first Federation War, where we had to fight in Northern Levant against 6 factions. I mentioned this, quite a bit in the first podcast. Guys, go watch the first podcast if you want a full context. But yeah, so us and Beers, we kind of suffered and ruined our whole summer for that, but still the Federation won. But afterwards, Saturn sort of got annoyed because back then the Federation had the rule of everybody had to have a shared army under the War Marshal. I'm not sure how it works these days. So we kind of dipped because at the time I think Teutonics had an inactive period and were losing to Zengids. But then afterwards, the rest of the Islamic alliance came in, and it was pretty awkward for us because we were still on like the friendly Federation terms. And at the time, I think we were the only Catholic Christian faction left because all of the others got fucked. If you remember, like I think England got something done to them, HRE had something done to them, Teutonics had the bullshit with the glitch in the puppet. Yeah. And yeah, it was crazy. So we still went to the RBs. I'm not sure if you remember, to like defend Iterun and shit with the Teutonics. But I don't know, name guy got too bold, which is usually the problem with anti-feds. They get too bold, and I think he attacked Acre. So we got a bunch of like the former 7th Legion on. You know how there's always a secret swarm of inactive players for the Acre sieges. So they came on. Teutonics mass rallied as well for that siege. We all clutched it, pushed them back. And then you guys gave us control of Ayyubids, which is kind of sick. And I think that's where stuff started to part ways. Because afterwards, we like sort of turned them around. I'd like to take some credit for that. But of course, Belides and I don't know, name guy still did most of it. But yeah, so at the time, I think they had sort of improved. We had that war, France and Ibids with Seljuks and Cypriots, and that sort of brought their confidence up. It sort of brought their levels of, activity and being autonomous without any other factions helping them. It brought that up, and they became their own thing. So we just we released them, and at the time we were doing. Remember the Union of Francia even before the Capetians?
Oh yeah.
I'm not sure if you remember that. Yeah. So I think it was from the same sort of idea, and with the vassalization update, we're like, damn, we actually improved Ibids, turned them into friends because we were the first faction to, I'd say, not be temporarily trying to invest into our vassal at the time. These days it's sort of redundant, but yeah, back then I think it sort of brought Ibids and France closer together because of that colonization, which was weird. I know that sounds weird, but no. These days Ibids are way stronger than France, so they've definitely proven themselves, especially with Bolides. Yeah, so I think we attacked Hospitallers afterwards because they were sort of inactive. It was an easy target. They were Frankian, and it was like a good expansionist aspect. And since there was still lots of political issues going on at the time, if you remember with federations, this like the first or second or third or fourth Cypriot invasion of northern Levant to take Thessa as a strong point for the Federation. That got repelled again. So I think it was rising hate unanimously in the genre against the Feds, and that was like the second or third time that had happened. The first time with France on the anti-Fed side. So yeah, that was happening. We took Hospitallers under control. Then once that happened, we sort of started protecting a bunch of factions. Because I'm not sure how that war started. Genuinely.
The war started. You go ahead.
No. I was just asking how did that start? You're about to say?
Oh yeah, the war started because Ayyubid started infernum hunting Cyprus, who was an ally of the Federation.
Most normal Ayyubid activity.
Yeah. And Cyprus wanted to have some mass retribution and have a brief war with Ayyubids, and Tutan said, "We're bored as hell. Okay, let's do that." And so we declared war on Ayyubids and planned to just ask for hey, give us a week of your garrison resources, and then that spiraled into World War Zero. And honestly, I was a little betrayed by you, Leo, because I still considered you an ally at that point.
Yeah, no, I can imagine, man. I think at the time, I can understand why you would think that. And I remember how there was this massive awkward period where we owned a lot of Federation lands, but there was just no sieges on Malborg.
Yeah.
There was maybe 3 week to 1 month period. So at the time, I'm not sure if you saw my first podcast and my interview with Myth, because I can understand why you would feel betrayed by me. Yeah, it's perfectly understandable. But at the same time, I'm not trying to excuse anything. But I think since I was abroad for so long and taking care of so many factions at the same time, I wasn't even online for 3 weeks, during the summer war, because I was in the middle of the Sahara Desert with my family. So essentially, I had an array of people. This is the most people I've ever shared my account to. I think Renshiru had it, Balides had my account, Cyber had my account, probably 2 other people, Senshiru and stuff. So I was limiting. This is from my perspective. When I would pop into the Capetian chat whenever I had a free moment where I could have Wi-Fi or something. This is quite backwards in Northern Africa, in some places. While I was there, I would just get pop-ups saying, "Holy shit, we're winning, guys! We're doing so well. Leo, start a raid on Malborg. Make France start a raid on Malborg." And I was like, "Nah, that kind of feels awkward to do." So, I left it. It kept going for a week, and they said, "Leo, we said stop doing a raid on Malborg. The Teutonics are trying to fight back now. They're just going to keep fighting back. They're not doing any peace unless you start the war." It's like, nah, guys, don't start anything yet. Second week, escalated more. Third week, escalated more. And at the time, factions like the Abbasids, lots of the Sicilians and Hosps to this day, which are sort of unstable and stuff. Yeah. Seljuks at the time, I'm not sure who was under them. Was it Veritius? I'm not sure. But they were all lots of them at least, were like, "Listen, if you don't start this raid on Malborg, we're going to be stuck in this loop, and we're going to leave your alliance because you guys are clearly not wanting to end anything." So I was like, Jesus Christ. But I still kept it for another week, so I think it went to a month. And then they were like, "Okay, we're going to start leaving." And I was like, fuck it. Balides, you guys have held for a month. At least do they're not surrendering, which you guys didn't surrender, which is, the whole point of the resilience. So like, okay, you can start your siege on Melbourne, but I think after that happened, I'm not sure if we captured it or not, but it started backfiring a bit. I wasn't there to see it firsthand, but I definitely think the adamant pressure at the time of everything being too centralized was probably a massive issue, and also maybe the leadership at the time wasn't exactly in the place. They had people like Belias, but he wasn't leader yet. Abbasids weren't too stable. So I think in terms of consistency, lots of them, even including France, maybe Biz, who got tired a bit, were pushing a tiny bit for a siege on Malbork, and yeah, I think that's where the tide sort of turned.
Yeah.
That's sort of a long answer, but yeah, didn't mean to keep you guys quiet for a long time.
You're good.
That's all right.
You have anything to respond?
Yeah, so,
You mentioned Hospicily, and I remember hearing a lot about how they did not like the Capetian Empire, but they'd fought anyways because you guys promised them some stuff.
yeah,
And
no, definitely. So
They started working with feds more because of that. So go ahead.
Yeah, no, 100%. They did. So we promised them. I think it was, what was the Leon fort for Sicilians, and I think maybe Pietrosa, and something for the Hospitallers as well. So that probably added too many stacks to the demands, and we saw that when people were making a demand sheet, there was so many factions that many of them were asking for ridiculous things. Abbasids were asking for like fucking 5 garrisons.
Yeah.
If you remember that. I'm not sure if Zengids were asking for Majdal. We asked for Zekanin and Nazareth, but after that we actually receded those so that everybody else could get what they wanted. And I think that's probably like Iobits or Selch. I can't even keep count. But yeah, no, it was an extensive treaty thing. And no, when I said, guys, you're asking too much, lots of them were like, no, you know, we definitely have a win here, blah, blah, blah. We can ask for whatever. And I think, yeah, that the greediness in general was sort of another downfall of that aspect. And yeah, with Sicily and Hosps, we did pay them back from the Protectorate money. But yeah, I can understand why they still have some hatred, because obviously we share a region with them. They're not very strong, so they're always quite an easy target. Although they do put up a decent fight.
Yeah, I remember reading that demand list. I remember I had to reread it several times to make sure I was getting the count correct. There was a total of 50...
I was internally cringing.
There was a total of 15 garrisons.
Yeah, exactly. That's the issue. So that's why I removed what was it? Our claims. I said, okay, a few other factions have to remove your claims too. And they were like, no, we could definitely do this. God damn. Crazy times.
To take credit for my negative influence on that. At the time I was wasn't. I think I was like the 4th to the top rank. I can't remember which. I don't remember the exact rank because it's the old ranking system. But yeah. I was pretty much the person in Antioch, along with obviously Marinos, calling a lot of the shots for Antioch. The thing is when I came into this genre, I came from a place where like you just take shit. Like if you have it, you just take it. And so I kind of carried over the same mentality to Lionhearts, and little did I know, like Lionhearts is a completely different game with a completely different culture, completely different set of people. So it's not something I can translate over like that. And so for Antioch, I think I just wanted Cyprus to go. I think I wanted Cyprus out of Northern Levant because my goal at the time was to like keep Northern Levant like completely secure. And so I had Marinos request Hawash and Alzara and told him not to budge on it. I probably shouldn't have done that. I probably should have requested for a garrison, obviously, but I don't think I should have requested for 2 garrisons. I think that was a mistake, and I think every faction doing that combined, which is what Leo is saying, is just kind of why it ended up being something that didn't really work out on the Capetian side.
Yeah,
definitely.
I remember talking to Lennis during that war, and he did not like having to negotiate with you as a middleman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I'll take up the fault for that because I was way more warlike and way more ruthless.
I remember at the time, Valor. I knew like you had like mad potential. I knew you came from like stuff with different cultures because this game is very niche in terms of having the pacing, just the
Yeah,
brain power.
I didn't understand that at the time, which is why like I'm glad I wasn't Prince. But at the time I didn't understand that, and so I was just
Yeah,
like,
no, it's
give
good
us
time
this,
for you
give
to
us
learn.
this. Yeah.
Definitely, but you mentioned about like Cyprus and some negotiations there, and lettuce as well. So I want to
Yeah.
sort of increase the heat on the hot plate here, and I want to ask both of you, what are your opinions, guys, on what happened with the Seljuks and the Cypriots with the coup of lettuce?
I'll let Tarask take
No,
the.
no, no. You go first. I'm gonna be very long.
Okay. So mine is sort of short answered because I don't, again, like this is more of a Seljuk thing. It's not a NT thing. I don't really think anyone could take any credit for anything that happens as anti-feds because it's decentralized. Like nobody controls it. But as far as NT, we kind of, there was a vote to. I started the vote to remove the Seljuks from the Northern Triumvirate because I don't want to be forced to. I mean, like that's the whole point of the Triumvirate, to defend people that are in it. But I started the vote to remove the Seljuks the day it happened. Like when I found out, I immediately started that vote. And Howling and Omar didn't want to, which is fine. Like that's up to them. Like I said, like Howling and Omar are the two allies in Northern Triumvirate that are also founders, and those are the people that I trust most in like the genre, other than I would say Leo. But when they said no, I was like, okay, well that's just the end of it. Like if Howling and Omar say no, well then like I can't really go against it. It's just how we work. It's our rules. So for anyone who doesn't know, by the way, Northern Triumvirate is kind of structured in a way where you have the founders and then you have the members. The members have a say on big decisions like that. The founders have a say on big decisions like that, like officially, like through vote. And then members are obviously heard, but it's not it's not a thing where members have a specific vote on the council for Northern Triumvirate. But anyway, we decided not to kick them. I made sure that they at least were told that if they do it to anyone else, then we're going to leave them out to dry. Which obviously they don't want that, so they're not going to do it again. But as far as how that affects Lettuce and Cyprus as a whole, I don't really think it affected Cyprus negatively. I think that Lettuce was way too warlike. I think he was dragging, and I'm sure this was probably annoying even for you, Tarask, dragging everyone into wars all the time, and it was very annoying. And I think that Cyprus was getting tired of the wars. I mean, there were, I think, 3 rebellions total under him that were either found out or they happened and failed, whatever the case is. I know that there were like 3 total. And I just think, like I don't know, I don't think anyone can really say that Lettuce was good for the faction. I think people can say that he's done good things. I just don't think they can say he was good for the faction overall. As far as Psychic, I don't really know much about Psychic, so I don't know what kind of hands they're in now. But from what I've heard and what I trust with what my allies say, Psychic's going to be a good person leading for Cyprus. I don't really know where he's gonna go. Like I don't know if he's, like, from what I was told, Saddam kind of put him in knowing he'd be a wild card. So whatever happens in Cyprus is just kind of like what happens. But
I mean, yeah, that's an amazing answer. Yeah, no, obviously Tarask has probably a long soliloquy that we are all excited for as well.
Yeah.
The topic.
Oh shoot!
I can say, he disappeared.
Yeah, I forgot to rotate my camera. That's my bad. Go ahead though. Go ahead.
I can say, I've been working with Lettuce ever since he became the Basileus of Cyprus. I can say with certainty that he was a massive positive influence on Cyprus, because you have to look at perspective of what happened when Psychic retired, because Cyprus had lost several wars. Psychic didn't have time for the faction anymore, so he retired. Old gens were retiring out of the faction, and new spots were opening up. I believe Lettuce was in the genre for 2 months when he got leader. He did not want leader, but everybody said, you're the only guy for it, so he became leader. He accepted the job. Cyprus at that point was a sinking ship, and he was bailing out water as fast as he can, and he bailed the fuck out of that water. Again, sorry for cursing. You can bleep it if you want to.
No, you're good.
No, that's fine. It's part of it, man.
Yeah, but at that point, he had no allies because, you know, Northern Levant didn't like him. The Muslim factions don't like him, so he went to the only faction that could help him and would help him, which was the Federation factions. And we gave so much stuff to him. I gave 7,000 magnetite over several trades. We helped him reorganize ranks. We helped him with division stuff. He kept Cyprus a fighting faction for a very, very long time when it should have become like Abbasids, with how many people were several bloodlines even like just up and left, which was entire divisions under his rule, because people just didn't get what they wanted from him. And that's because they wanted free ranks. They wanted constant free ranks. They wanted promotions. They wanted wars with feds, because they didn't like the fact that feds were helping them, even though, you know, it was a positive thing for the faction as a whole. You know, like the Baalbeks, Teutons gave Ross, Baalbek, and Baalbek City over to Cyprus. Those were our garrisons, but, you know, they're a fed faction. We loved Cyprus at that point. And it was just your main example was the constant wars against Byzantines, which they did lose all of those. But he never said, hey guys, we're going to war against Byzantines now. It was always a council vote with Cyprus. Everybody in the HR Corps shares blame for losing those wars and starting those wars. And he did his most to repair Cyprus after each of those wars and each of those failures. And he did. It's just, everybody says that he's a bad leader because of what Cyprus was at the time, but nobody says, oh, he's a bad leader because of what he did. No, he's an amazing leader that actually kept the ship afloat. But, you know, nobody's going to give him praise for that, except maybe the half of Cyprus right now who actually saw that.
That's a very, very brave proclamation. I'm sure there are still many people who can agree with that. Yeah, so that's an interesting insight on like Lettuce. I'm sure he did seem like a useful ally to you guys. Valor.
Just to fire back to create dialogue. Some of this will be and just put it out there. Some of this will be devil's advocate. So fire back as you will, because you're not just talking to me. You're talking to the people who believe the same things. But so the reason why Lettuce, I think, indisputably is a bad leader, and this isn't devil's advocate, is because he would wage constant wars against factions that he can't win against. Like, he's like respectfully to Lettuce, he's not going to win against Biz. That would be like saying that I'm going to win against Teutons. Respectfully, I cannot win against Teutons. Not in a 1v1. It's just not going to happen. I feel like as a good leader, you have to know who you can fight. Like for example, Tarask, if our roles were switched and you tried to war me, I would just call you stupid because you're not gonna win. Like if I was the Hodgemeister and Tarask, Prince of Antioch, was like, I'm gonna war you, I'm gonna take Malbork and vassalize you, I would just laugh. Like, and that's not to say like Antioch is weak or anything, but like at the same time, like Teutons are extremely strong. So it's like, why would I war a faction I know I'm gonna lose against? It's the same thing with Lettuce. Him warring Biz, it's a losing fight. And then the part that makes it even worse is he would war Biz, right? And then he would bring in the Teutonic Order to kind of piggyback him as far as he can, and then he would still lose. So not only did he lose multiple times, he would war them again, lose, and then bring in the Teutonic Order again, and then still lose. I don't think you can consider him a good leader given those facts.
Yeah, those were definitely failures on the Cyprus's part, but a few failed wars isn't what makes a leader good or bad necessarily. But I will say they did think they had the advantage, and because Byzantines were inactive when they first declared war, I believe. and then they suddenly got active out of nowhere, which was a big surprise to everybody. Not to mention that Thessa and Sid Abyssal, I believe, are the only things that Biz has connection to down there.
Yeah.
So it was really just an amazing part on Biz's part that they actually won the war against Cyprus when Cyprus had a complete advantage. But yeah.
Can I add on to that real quick, Valor, if that's all right?
Yeah, of course, go.
Yeah. Would you say that? Do you think that Letus's regime of Cyprus, in your opinion, was a great source of activity for the Teutonics because they could have an unrelated conflict to them, but still be able to fight some enemies on a regular scale without too much consequence for themselves?
That goes to the entire Federation as a whole. Yeah, having Federation allies where we can help them, be it in a war or like behind the scenes and just trainings or in the ranking things, like I said, that helps Teutons immensely. And I'm pretty sure it helps the entire Federation immensely too. Because like you said, with KOJ earlier, they were pretty inactive before they joined the Federation under Ollie's reign. They really went under, but yeah, under Valor they got really active because the Federation was just helping them constantly with everything, and it was a two-way deal with Cyprus as well. Teutons would help them in trades or trainings, and we would go to their wars as well.
Yeah.
Also because, Teutons don't like fighting Zengids or Ayubids anymore because they're just too easy to beat sometimes.
Fair enough. I also wanted to mention, when you were speaking about Letus, you spoke a lot about that as the history of Cyprus, but what was your perspective? Were you still leader or a high rank during the time where Psychic was attacking the Teutonic Knights and an enemy of the Federation?
Yeah, from the moment I got HR, I believe, what Psychic was still leading Cyprus. When I got HR, it was like around Psychic's height of his, when he got really big rallies. But again, you have to take that with a pinch of salt and remember the context around that. That was when Tankfish era. That was when everything was free and it was easy to recruit, and people would.
Yeah, definitely.
People
I remember there was a legendary 50-man Cypriot rally somewhere. Can't remember where it was.
Psychic really likes to boast about that picture everywhere he goes.
Yeah, dude, he's marketed it to a full extent.
Yeah. But if you take like the genre as a whole and you take examples from other factions like Byzantines or Teutons or Templars, especially Templars and Assassins, they all had similar rallies of that size, and nowadays they have like 20, maybe 30 main rallies on good days.
Definitely. I would say those are like some of the most appealing factions. One of them has Roman in its name. The Templars are in every single game. They're sort of like like a teenager's what a teenager looks up to, a boy teenager on average.
Yeah.
Teutonics to a lesser extent than Templars, I'd say. So I think it's very impressive that the Teutonics are sort of overshadowing Templars. No offense to Tilo, because the Templars have been rallying so much more than Heroes last few months. So that's been very impressive. And Assassins, obviously, the Assassin's Creed franchise. We can see that they have like 20,000 people in the faction.
It's an insane number.
In that regard, how do you think Appeal has influenced all of those larger factions? We see with HRE now too, since they also have Roman in their name, they've been capitalizing slightly more on it.
Yeah, this was something Letus also complained about a lot with me personally, because Cyprus is just in the terms of the Third Crusade and the history of the world at all, Cyprus is a dot on the map, and that's it. They were barely involved. The fact that Psychic and Letus kept an active rally with Cyprus with such a low attractiveness of the faction is pure amazing.
I do think like they also, because like what is it? There's 7 to 9 European factions which all have the same Western skins, Western style, relatively same bucket helmets. I think in that regards, Cyprus still have the advantage of having this Greek heritage. There's only 2 factions in the game of all 16 which can have that aesthetic. So I think maybe that's why they've had some really good successful moments, both under Psychic and Letus.
Until you give Silesians armor and apparently they look like Byzantine.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on that?
I think that was their main recruiting thing. Like, hey, we kind of look like the Byzantines and we're Greeks.
Yeah, it's
So
like
come
evil
join us.
Byzantines, bro. It's like the Dark Elves.
Yeah. That's the only thing they could leverage out of any historical accuracy was that, and they took it that
Yeah.
they really went for it.
Speaking of which, I just wanted to add to that. I remember when what's his name? Was it Isaac who was removing the helmets, or was it like a model?
Yes.
Or
Yeah,
Teutonics?
it
You know
was
the
Isaac.
angel wing helmet, the horns. Yeah, no,
Yes.
I think that's one thing where Teutonics stand out majorly. That when you see those horns, it sort of invokes fear. I would say to many factions, especially with amazing players like Zach plays, J Lucy, I'm not sure, Chopper, and Jimmy,
Chopper.
of course. Yeah, so I think even with your outfit, with the spikes, it's really something unique. Even apart from the Western factions, it's really a selling point there, especially with some of Iggy's like amazing satchels and stuff. That must be great. I've seen the outfit overalls, and it's quite nice. I'm expecting Daniel to do the same with Burgundy now that he's a tailor. But yeah, do you think Iggy has been a positive influence on the SBA and just recruitment appeal?
Diplomatically, you're gonna hear some stuff about Iggy not being a great leader or something, but behind the scenes, he has been a massive positive influence on SBA. Like,
okay,
our main like selling point for most Western factions is, hey, look at our cool unis. Hey, look at my horns. Hey, look, we're a cool faction, right? I joined Teutons personally in 2019 because they had cool uniforms back then, and they weren't as like big as Templars, which is a bit intimidating at the time. So yeah, I think that's easy for us to leverage and get recruits that way if we do actually go out recruiting, which is kind of hard because Jerusalem is Jerusalem.
Yeah, no, definitely, and pilgrims are few and far between, especially with the onboarding system at Malta, as we can see, definitely.
So to take over for a sec, we'll throw it out of we'll throw the whole conversation with the puppeting and all that out the window. I think we've talked enough about it, but I do want to say if you have any other thoughts, go ahead and throw them out if you'd like.
Well, there is a whole history of puppeting that does deal into this one, and hopefully every future puppeting. If you guys want to ask about that.
So
elaborate.
Go ahead, Valor, because as a manager of the Northern Triumvirate, I think you're very equipped to deal with this from your perspective first. Then after that, Tarask, we can move to you.
Well, first elaborate on the question, because I'm sort of confused on what you're asking.
Well, okay, I'll spin you guys a tale. Back when Parabellum released and puppeting was released, I was a brand new leader with bright eyes. I trusted everybody. The very first puppeting in the history of Lionhearts was done by KOJ to Hospitallers because of a massive communication issue between everybody. There were certain Hospitaller rebels in KOJ that I think lied to them, and then nobody said that Hospitallers were solving their own issues, so everybody said, hey, let's go fix Hospitallers, and just puppeted them. And I went along with it because, hey, these Fed guys are my allies. Why wouldn't I? And then after that, I realized what a massive mistake I had made. Like, I think there's a GIF out there somewhere that I can show you guys later on of what my face was when I found out how massive a mistake that was. Because that was the turning point. It was like, oh, we should never do puppeting again. And the second puppeting was what you guys mentioned in the first episode. Me getting puppeted by Ayubids and Nymph, which was an illegal puppeting, and I would not count them as a Hawkmaster.
Yeah.
But yeah. And what was the one after that? Was there one after that? I forget.
I don't recall.
The Saddam one, I guess.
Yeah, the Saddam one was the third one, I guess. But for me personally,
I thought it was a coup.
Oh, it was a puppeting.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Saddam puppeting lettuce.
Oh yeah. That's what you meant. I think you meant for Seljuks with Fops, but no.
Yeah. So that's one of the big reasons I am so anti-puppeting. is because I made the mistake early on of when we didn't know what puppeting was to do it, and it was just yeah, new leaders should not do this, and we should tell new leaders not to do this, and we should punish anybody who tries to do this.
So essentially, it's like a nuclear deterrent for different factions. Yeah, no, so that's a great point. I just wanted to add on, asking to that. How do you think this recent puppeting that we've experienced, how do you think that would impact the genre and its diplomacy moving forward? This is a question for both of you.
You can answer first.
I think that if it's not resolved or given justice in any way, that people see puppeting as a way to solve wars quickly and get rid of your enemies, and that will be very disastrous for the community as a whole, because the community relies on stable factions and stable leaders, and the entire game relies on those communities themselves being stable, and puppeting is the one way you can actually completely disrupt and maybe sometimes destroy a faction. Because I know that Teutons were ready to completely burn down our server, which was run by Credenzio moderation. I think would have been against the rules, but we hated the idea of being puppeted so much we were ready to just completely move to the SPA server full time. And yeah.
I think what's scary with puppeting is that it's literally an erasure of like a culture, a faction culture and community which is formed. It's like an erasure of that, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So I think that's why I can see it being controversial. Obviously, it's something Myth has promoted with competitivity. We've had our video with him yesterday, and not yesterday, a few days ago. And yeah, no, puppeting is very, very controversial to this day because it's a game mechanic. Nobody can totally, just complain about it because it's part of the game. But it's definitely a scary aspect, and it's probably something which is mostly frowned upon by most cultures. So that's why it was such a big impact with the Seljuks, definitely.
Yeah.
And Valor, did you want to add your perspective to that same question? Tarask? Unless Tarask isn't done. Feel free to speak more, Tarask.
Is it? Okay. Yeah, so essentially, I don't like obviously I don't think puppeting should be done. I think Tarask is right. Yeah, it can destroy a faction. I think there are a few caveats and also a few things that are very important to mention that weren't mentioned. There is the possibility that you puppet a faction, and it actually is better for the faction that leader is gone. I don't think that is common. I think that for that to happen, there has to be a very weird imbalance of power, or the leader has a certain regime in place that's just very bad for the faction. I think Lettuce had that. I don't think Lettuce deserved to be puppeted nonetheless. I don't think anyone deserves that, but I still think that with the way the game mechanics are, it's very hard to vassalize someone or stop someone from fighting you. Like there's just no way to do it. The prime example of this, I think, would be the Teutonic Order specifically, and I'm sure you could I think you could vouch for this as well, Tarask. But the whole premise is if you just don't give up, you can't lose. And that's true with every faction. It's a universal thing. I think that's a really big problem. I think that you shouldn't have to give up in order to lose. And puppeting would be the only surefire way to make sure that someone loses. And I think that's a problem. I think there should be ways to make someone lose without having to puppet them. But there isn't. And so the only way that Saddam felt in order to stop Lettuce from attacking Northern Levant constantly, which, again, I don't think it's arguable that he wasn't doing that. He just was. But the only way Saddam felt that it was possible for him to stop doing that was to puppet him. And to a degree, he's right. There literally is no way to for sure stop him. I don't think that makes puppeting okay, but I think that it is important context to remember when remembering why someone did it, and then also trying to prevent that in the future, or at the very least stop having your allies or the factions that you're in from just constantly fighting or wearing people out or just that sort of thing. But again, overall, I don't think puppeting is it's almost never justifiable. It's very rare for it to be justifiable. In this situation, I don't think it is. In most situations, it won't be, and I don't think we ever will see a situation where it's justifiable. I think if this war went on for like another year, because keep in mind it's been like 7 months, like it's going on 7 months now. If this war went on for like another year, at this point, fuck it, puppet, I don't give a shit. I'm tired of fucking warring people all the time. You know what I mean? Like at some point it's got to stop. So but yeah, overall I don't think it was justified. If Tarask were to go and conquer the Seljuks, I wouldn't blame him. That would, like, I mean, like, if he hates puppeting that much, and puppeting is 99% of the time inherently a bad thing, then it is what it is.
Yeah. You mentioned that sometimes it can be good for a faction. Whether it's good or... God, this guy is psychic. Whatever. If it's good or not for a faction does not reflect on the puppeteer. The puppeteer, whether you press that button, you know what you're doing. You're destroying a faction, basically. And the puppeteer cannot care for a faction if they press that button at all. So if a faction manages to grow despite the puppeting, like Cyprus is sort of doing, that goes completely onto the faction, like they got puppeted. That's kudos to them for being able to withstand that and grow because of it. But yeah,
the way you're talking about puppeting is like if you press the button, it's like it's not like it's a nuclear warhead. Like it's not like if you press the button, it like destroys like 20% of their population and bans them from the game or something. All it does is replace the leader. I think their motive behind it, like in the way Saddam did, he puppeted someone in that was a wild card. I don't think that's as bad as just puppeting in someone who's pro anti-Fed or something. But I think again, it's not to like justify it, but again, it's not something where you're pressing the button and it immediately destroys the faction. The whole point of what I said before was, if you do puppet someone in, there is a chance that person is actually better for the faction. In this case with Psychic, it probably is true.
Yeah, you said it only replaces the leader, but in every instance that puppeting has occurred, the leader that got put into the puppet position has been forced to demote every HR in the faction, so they can determine, who's going to be trustworthy to me. And sometimes, especially what happened with Teutons, they have to introduce people from the faction that puppeted the vassal, because they're the only ones that are going to be loyal to the puppet. And that actually tried to happen in Cyprus, because I still had roles in there for a bit, because they didn't remove me because there was a whole loyalty thing. But I saw Umran and some Seljuk HRs trying to get into HR positions, and they got kicked out of the server very quickly because Cyprus said, oh no, you're not gonna do that. We don't trust any of you. And I'm really proud of them for managing to get them out of the server that quickly.
Yeah.
Especially for Farmer, because he was an actual Cypriot, not a Seljuk.
Yeah.
Like Nymph was. Nymph!
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, man. I was just doing stuff.
You're right. You're right in the sense that it's hard to find loyalty in that way. I still don't think that it doesn't discredit what I said. I still think that 99% of the time it's unacceptable, and then there's a very rare instance where it is. In this situation, I think that Saddam deliberately put him in power, and then as a transition for Psychic, because he knew what it would do. I don't think Saddam is stupid. I don't think it can be argued that he's necessarily stupid. I mean, you can call him whatever you want. I just don't think you can call him stupid. But I think in terms of who he's put in as far as Farmer and the transition into Psychic, I don't think him doing that was not deliberate. So in this case, like I said, I don't think it's the worst possible thing in the world. If he put someone in power who didn't expel Seljuks, then I could understand your point, and I'd be like, yeah, this was for sure he puppeted someone and then put someone in that's not even gonna keep Cyprus what Cyprus is. I could understand that, but the issue is he is like Farmer just is doing that. So it's kind of hard to argue that the puppeting wasn't necessarily good for the faction. Time can tell. I mean, it still can be bad. I'm not saying it is currently as it stands that Cyprus is worse than it was before because it hasn't been long enough. But I think that
actually, Psychic hasn't reclaimed his throne yet. It's still farmers for another, I think, 4 to 5 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then it's Psychic.
Yeah. But in any case, I think we'll have to see. I think we'll have to see where Cyprus goes before we consider this puppeting inherently bad or good for Cyprus.
The puppeting already has done damage to Cyprus, just looking at the map, because they immediately had Cyprus sign over Hawash, and Ayyubids are already trying to get the Baalbeks out of them again.
Actually, to interrupt, Bolides has offered both Baalbeks to them.
Yeah.
And they said that they are... Yeah, so Bolides is giving away the Baalbeks to the new Cypriots.
Oh,
But
okay.
I think they said they only want Baalbek City and they don't want Baalbek Village. So that's from the Cypriots' perspective. They don't want the Baalbek Village. So yeah, they were offered back both of those in exchange, for Hawash. But yeah, it looks like they sort of have their own plans. And like I said, they are sort of a wild card. Valor said this as well. They are sort of a wild card. We don't really have any direct conversations. I mean, I'm not really into diplomacy these days since I'm retired. But I know for a fact from GCs that people aren't really directly involved with the Cypriots too much because they're basically standing on their own ground. And I think with this new regime, which is also from the old regime of Cyprus, they've sort of just reclaimed their independence, which we can respect, definitely.
Yeah. Now, either way Cyprus goes, if they want help from Feds, they'll be happy to give it. If they go to anti-Feds, that'll be very interesting because anti-Feds have taken garrisons from them, and the whole Thessa thing. So
yeah, no, I don't think. What's your perspective on that as an NT member, Valor?
Whatever way they go is whatever way they go. I mean, the only thing that NT wants is for them not to be constantly aggressive in the north. That's literally it. So, like that's all.
Real,
yeah.
Right. We're starting to get a bit short on time. I'm not sure about what you guys think. So we start going with some finishing questions.
Let me check. Yeah, we're at about an hour in. Okay, so
now on 15.
Yeah, let's start. Let's go into like the more I guess provocative questions. So, we're anti-feds. You're fed.
Yeah.
Specifically us two. Give us criticisms or problems one by one that you've had with us in the past, and explain what you think we did wrong, because I know there's been a couple run-ins between each of us respectively. So go ahead and shoot him.
You want me to give you criticisms?
Yeah.
Well, dealing with anti-feds as a whole has been a very big issue because diplomacy is it's hell in a handbasket. You have 7 different people with 7 different opinions about how things should be done. And Leo, if you remember the Capetian VCs, those things were just yelling matches constantly. In fact, you witnessed one of them recently.
Yeah.
With the puppeting issue when it popped up. That's the biggest thing when you're warring the anti-feds as a whole. That's just a massive headache.
Can imagine, yeah. So, how do you think it's changed? Actually, just to stray off a tiny bit, just a little tangent. How do you think it's strayed between the Capetian Empire and the Northern Triumvirate, as well as the what's it called?
SCA.
Yeah. How do you think it's been more decentralized, but also still having many parties involved? Do you think that's made any differences in how you've been facing the anti-Fed so far? Just as a small tangent.
It's been different in how the war is fought, but especially recently with HRE protectorating 6 factions.
Yeah, I think that's been a bit recalling of the Capetian Empire.
Yeah. And also the diplomacy. Ali has demanded that we negotiate peace with Seljuks, Abbasids, and HRE all at the same time, and he's not going to make peace unless we all give in to their demands, just like the Capetians did. And after the puppeting, there's no way we can do that at all. Like, even if we would want to, after 2 years of warfare, no, we're not going to allow a puppeteer and guys who just fight like that to dictate everything about us.
Yeah. Nice. That's good to know. So yeah, obviously it's as tumultuous as it's ever been right now, and it's very, very complicated. We don't have much time left, so we can redirect back to the OG question by Valor, I suppose.
You go ahead. Go ahead and give us your criticisms, Mr. Tarask.
Oh,
if you have any, you can humble us with compliments, but yeah.
Oh yeah,
we're all on the hot stove here.
Leo, you personally are an amazing diplomat. Thank you. You've been holding France up for years because you.
Likewise, you with Jimmy as well.
Yeah, Valor, you're a very good dev. I don't know a lot about what you've done with your leadership other than the NT, which is, that's a great accomplishment, but I don't know anything specifically done inside the NT that I could compliment. I don't really have any other complaints about you two specifically.
Okay.
Wow, that's very kind of you. Very humbling.
Well, what about I know there was a run-in with the I believe you blacklisted me from trade or something for a while because yeah. What about that whole run-in? What do you think about that?
That was because you and I briefly came up with an anti-coup and rebellion deal. And then from my point of view, you were in a rebellion GC against Cyprus not long after, and I was like, oh dude, come on.
Dude, I remember those so well. Like, yeah. I wasn't, this is times when I was retired and inactive, right? For France?
Yeah.
Because I still pop in every single couple of days to fight battles and shit. But yeah, no, at the time it was really fucking awkward because everybody like would say, "Oh, Leozan, yeah," they just forced me into a GC every single day. I'd wake up and I'd be like in 4 different GCs, and I'm like, "Oh, this is CIA coup number 53, fucking MI6 shit," and I'm like, "What the fuck is going on?" I would not send a single message. After like a few days later, it'd be in political declarations like, "I've exposed your coup," and I'm like, "What the fuck is this chat? Why am I in it?" After a lot of people questioning me about it, bro. Like this, like I feel like I'm not sure about you guys, but like GCs are over fucking saturated at this point, man. Like there's so many that I can't keep track anymore.
I've left like several dozen in the past few months, and I'm still in like over 2 dozen still. They're inactive.
Yeah, right.
It's ridiculous.
You just like you can't delete them all.
Yeah.
They're made for one specific issue, and then like you talk about that issue in there, and then for some reason you just stop, and then you talk about it somewhere else at a different GC or in like a server or something. Like the GC, like yeah, it's redundant. But back to the question of like that whole issue in particular between you and I. The way I looked at it back then was I already knew that Teutons were going to get involved because it was Cyprus. They always get involved. So I was like,
we do.
So I was like, okay, well, like given the Teutons are going to get involved, like I'll just I'll ally and help the rebellion for no particular reason. I just thought it'd be fun. But because of that, I guess you guys got pretty pissed. So I mean I don't know, it was what it was, but going forward out of the question, because I think that whole situation in and of itself was kind of old, and I mean it's kind of old, nobody really cares about it anymore, but
yeah,
I think in terms of the Federation, it's been standing around a pretty long time. I don't think it's going to go anywhere anytime soon. Are there anything that you would like? Is there anything that, as a Federation member and someone that is influential in the Federation, that you would like to say to anyone that is anti-Fed?
Just as a brief propaganda piece, I think that anti-Feds, I see a lot of complaints like, oh, it would be better if the genre went back to 2v2s and stuff. And Leo, you said something about toxicity in the first episode. From how I see it, the Federation has done nothing but amplify everything already in the genre. Like 2v2s, you have like 20 guys fighting on a battlefield, and you go like maybe 2 or 3 garrisons if you were equally matched, or 2 times.
Yeah, definitely.
2 times we blitz Zengids most of our wars, and that was not fun for us. It was just
I can imagine. Like Zengas just seem very unentertaining to fight.
Yeah.
To be fair, we have to give Juice just like real quick his credit, because I'm not sure if you were there for much beforehand, but when Zengids were first formed, they were first called Mosul, and they could never rally past 3 people. So Juice has definitely taken them a mile. Even if they've lost many battles against the Federation, they definitely had amazing, hilarious moments. I think that you guys probably have a wholesome relationship too. You know what I rewatched today? You know the Star Wars Order 66 video where it's Dude, I fucking smoked a blunt. I was just like bawling when watching that, dude. I was laughing my ass off.
Yeah. Personally, I love the Zengids because, especially what Juice did, he was a very fair leader and a meme poster, and I really respect that.
Dude, that's the thing. That's why I said in terms of 2v2s, maybe it's like this nostalgia talking, because you're mentioning it. But I feel like that entire culture of 2v2s made it so that people took the game less seriously, because it wasn't about these entire world wars, these sweaty ass federations, these anti-federations, this Capetian Empire. So you feel like the Capetian Empire didn't initially get formed to fight the Feds, we just wanted to have like French factions together. But anyway, yeah, no, I just feel like that entire culture back in the 2v2 days was like way less serious, and even beforehand when we were back in the original game, I think it was just a different culture. But these days, I don't know, I feel like it's become way too serious. Whenever I want to pop in and just talk shit, like not aggressive against any faction or like drama like that, I just want to talk random bullcrap, all I see is like Federation and anti-Federation factions arguing in main TTC server, and it just makes me really sad, because back in the day nobody took this game seriously, you know, and that's what I kind of miss. Because like obviously no, you can still keep it serious to some extent, because you know that's what gives it importance. You still want to win, you still want to lose, that's fine. Competitiveness is amazing, but at the same time, I feel everybody just takes like baits and just stupid jokes too seriously. Like Renshiro, since he's from the old gens, he just yaps because he knows that people will react to it, and he just like gets his kick out of that. And he does not give a single shit if somebody like takes it seriously. For him, he just knows that he got them pissed off, and he's happy. I don't know. So it's such a different culture between Reforged and the OG game. Yeah, sorry, I'll let you speak.
Yeah, like I said, it's the amplification. Both good and bad things were all amplified because suddenly everybody was talking and working together or fighting together. Like the recent battle, there was nearly 100 people there. You would rarely get that kind of stuff during. Well, you might get during Tankfish, but that was Tankfish because.
Yeah, I mean Tankfish, and I'd say maybe also the Saturday Road battles pre-2020.
Yeah.
But they were laggy as fuck, dude.
Yeah. So was the battle.
Yeah, actually, you know what? That's another reason. I'd say like, sure, it's amplified, and like activity-wise, it's amplified. But since all of those amplifications are centralized to like one single server, because everybody's part of the same like battle, it makes it less enjoyable. Because back in those 2v2 days, you knew that you wouldn't just lag out and, you know, freeze when you were like at an enemy garrison. I'm not sure if this is a thing for many people, but I'd say maybe the Federation, the SBA, since they have more like American members and such, they probably have like, you know, a higher echelon, higher funding for their PCs, since I've seen them load in, be very smooth, they're very good at combat. And on the anti-Fed side, you know, you have lots of like a genuine Arab community, or like, you know, like in Iraq or Syria or Tunisia, like North Africa and stuff. And I feel like lots of them don't have PCs to that level, even myself. And maybe that's a big factor as to why so many people die, especially, you know, quantity beats quality. SBA definitely have amazing quality these days. I do think technologically that is a big factor. But yeah, it is an interesting perspective.
Yeah.
And it is really,
I like to
complex.
call that electronic warfare. We just completely crash the servers with our numbers, or, you know, we're constantly fighting servers wherever we go.
I was at the last you know, the last RV where you guys captured, what was it, Masada, Samil and shit. So you remember when it was a Paris server, we were like, holy shit, you know, it was laggy before, it's lagging now, maybe they can fix it. Then when it got fixed and reset, we were like, somebody in VC was like, guys, it's a Texas Dallas server, and we knew that all SBA are fucking like Americans and shit. We're like, God help us. So like, while remember when you guys had the initial push during that? Like once the server got restarted, you were like capping it halfway.
Yeah.
Like everybody was still loading in the Arab places. Like, guys, my PC's still loading. I can't get in. So yeah, I do think it's like some technological warfare, bro. Okay.
Yeah. When we first got into that Paris server from the Singapore server, people was like, "Oh yeah, it's a European server." Then we realized,
Paris server sucked.
Yeah, it's Paris. It's gonna be terrible. Oh dear God.
Dude. Even we can TP in there, man.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I think the battles recently have been pretty fun, just because like almost everyone's been involved. I think when the Teutons first got involved, like in like a wider scale, like 2 or 3 days ago or whatever, when we were fighting at Arsif was probably the most fun time. Just because I think you guys had no way to get to Arsif quickly, and so you guys rallied up and then came in numbers, but like we didn't know you were coming, so like you just kind of showed up with like 15 Teutons and ambushed Antioch from behind while we're trying to take Arsif. Yeah, I think, I don't know, that to me was pretty fun. Like, despite us getting absolutely decimated the second you pushed us, it was pretty funny, just because like I heard like several people in VC just screaming, why are there 20 Teutons here? What the hell? there were so many people yelling, like where? It walks in front of Arsif, I just hear more people yelling. It's, yeah, no, I don't know. Teutons love to create chaos. It's pretty fun. But back to the yapping portion. I want to kind of touch up on your thoughts about yapping, because it's almost a TTC tradition by this point. But what do you think about the leadership post channel and the main Discord and the new like political guidelines and all that other stuff? Like do you think the yapping is too much? Do you think that the guidelines are necessary, etc., etc.?
I think when the yapping is on like a poking fun level, like sometimes Enceladus does and you do and Ren sometimes does, I think that's the perfect level of yapping in the Devon leader post server channel. But I do think, like I said in the channel, we need a political discussions channel, because sometimes leaders go to that channel just to talk about all the heated stuff that's going on, and that can sort of ruin the channel's reputation for being fun and poking fun. You can have the heated yap channel and the fun yap channel. We need to segregate the yap, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that on both sides, where people use the shitpost channel to kind of like poke fun of their factions. I would say Encel is like the primary person, because like I feel like after every battle, I don't know, there was one point, I believe the Abbasid started a raid, told everyone to not join it just to see what would happen, and then I remember KOE obviously winning it because nobody joined, but they won it, and then I remember Encel posts the win, and he's like, and he replied to a post of Abbasid saying that they wouldn't ever seriously win against them or something, and I was like, I remember saying I'm pretty sure nobody attended that on purpose, right? Oh, I wish I could find the actual text, but I don't know. That to me is really funny in both in an ironic and unironic way. But I get what you mean in terms of it being serious yap. Serious yap gets kind of annoying. I'll try and say at least personally, I try and say the most random stuff ever to try and cool it down a bit, but sometimes it doesn't work. But I also like provoking people, as seen in the channel. I'm kind of the same way Ren is with that, so. But to kind of end it here, because it's getting a bit long, we'll end it on a very hopefully hopeful outlook. So, do you think that there's any chance to make this peace out, end the war? Because I feel like everyone is exhausted. Like the war has kind of been very annoying to deal with on everyone's part. Nobody really wants to be at war for 7 months. So do you think there's any chance for peace? What do you think it would take to make that happen, and who do you think are the specific prohibitors of peace happening?
The specific prohibitor would be Ollie right now, because the feds are currently just shooting for white peace right now. We don't want anything out of HRE or Abbasids. We do want a big chunk out of Seljuks, but that's going to be a different war. But with the Southern Levant specifically, the ball is really in the HRE's court right now, and it's going to remain there for the future, apparently, because Ollie... At the beginning of the war, he was right in that it was a defensive war. It was like, oh, I'm the good guy here, and you guys are demanding stuff of me. And Iggy did do that, yeah. We've ended that plenty of times. But as the wars progressed, he has become the aggressor because he's demanding stuff out of Templars, and he's refuting to stop the war because of something that happened last year. And it's just become ridiculous on our part, especially because he's now supporting Saddam. We're like, we can't negotiate with this guy at all. Yeah, it's just become really stressful.
Yeah, but on the topic of possibility of peace, do you think that is possible, or do you think it's just impossible?
I think it is possible if people come to their senses, but everybody. I'm not sure about KOE and Abbasids, since that's just a whole mess. Abbasids wanted 2 garrisons for free, which was completely ridiculous to me, but that's up to KOE to negotiate that as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you think it, just to touch up on the questionability, devil's advocate style, sort of, do you think it is unreasonable to want your cores back?
I think it's unreasonable to want 2 garrisons that were yours 3 years ago for a brief few months, and that have been the enemies for ever since then. Because those garrisons are KOE right now. If they were like an actual civilian population, they would be speaking English right now. Like, that's how long they've been in KOE's hands. And to demand that KOE just hand them over because Abbasids beat them in a few sieges and for a few months, it's kind of ridiculous.
So by that same token, would you expect them to siege more, so that way because you said, like, is it the time constraint that would be the bother there, or like what's the case with that? Because you said a few months, so I assume they would have to siege and win for like months on end, right?
Yeah. KOE's been fighting Abbasids ever since they got those garrisons, and they have a history. They've been tied to those garrisons, especially since Hedera is going to get a base sometime soon, and since Alphon connects to Megiddo, the Teuton garrison. It's going to take a long time for faction KOE and Abbasids to come to any sort of conclusion on that.
Yeah,
okay.
I do feel like Abbasids long term in history did get a short end of the stick, but Muslim factions haven't always performed the best. We've seen them recently sort of come back to some extent with their culture, so that's been promising to see. But yeah, for England and Abbasids, that's always anyone's game, and that's going to be really riling up stuff diplomatically, politically.
Well, if you don't have any more, questions,
just to end everything then.
Okay.
Tarask, thank you so much for being with us today, and we've massively appreciated your company. I'll ask you some final things, just super quick. The last thing, Valor, you can add anything onto this if you want to. We've gone on quite a long time, so here it is. What's your message out there for all of the aspiring Federation who follow your example and the Teutonic example? And also, what's your message for all of the anti-Feds out there?
SBA rules, anti-Feds rule. Hoorah.
Okay, that works.
Also, a message directly to Myth. Myth has been begging me to do an interview for like 2 weeks, and I did well with you guys first.
Yeah.
So how are you reacting? Are you going to do the Myth interview? Give us an exclusive take here. Give us some teaser.
Maybe at some point, if Myth begs me enough.
That's crazy.
That's the principle right there. Yeah. Well, sweet. I have nothing else to add on. Thank you for coming with us, Tarask. And Mr. Antioch, man, do you have anything to add on?
I do not.
All right. Well, sweet. Once again, thank you very much, guys, for watching the podcast. We've had an amazing guest here today with Tarask. Not any Tarask, but Tarask 4 and Tarask of Kiev. And of course, our host, main host, Valor, and myself. Very proud. And we'll see you in the next podcast, guys. Thank you so much for listening, and have a good evening.